Welcome to Tackett's House of Horsepower. It's me, Steve Tackett, and this is the episode I've been trying to avoid since January. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. We appreciate it. But those of you who know that we just moved here from Arizona. That's key. Remember that, Arizona. So I moved here back in November. She came about 6 weeks, 6 weeks after me. And the cars got shipped out, all the cars behind me, except for the truck. The C10 is a Tennessee native. The rest of them all came on a truck from Arizona. And everything was fine. You know, trying to sell a house, trying to buy a house, moving across country, starting a new job. It's a lot. It's a lot, okay? It's a lot. And the cars got here on a big 18-wheeler truck. There's videos on all that stuff. If you scroll back on the page, you'll see it. The cars got here. We unloaded them. Everything was fine. Everything's great. No problems. And then early January, we got our first big snowstorm. And we got probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches here at the house. And no big deal. It only lasted about 3 days, I think. 2-3 days, the snow was gone. And I came walking out of the house, and I stepped down off the porch, and I looked over at my Chevelle, and I saw this sitting on the ground underneath the Chevelle. And it immediately dawned on me that I'm an idiot. Because all of the vehicles have good old-fashioned green antifreeze in them, except for one. The Chevelle here was used extensively in Arizona at a lot of, it's the car I take to the track all the time. I was involved in the top 10 list races, the no prep races, a lot of the stuff. I've been racing this car. If you're from Arizona, you probably saw this car at the track. It was at Tucson all the time. It was at Wild Horse Pass all the time. So, being the good, responsible drag racer that I am, I followed the rules. And this car did not have antifreeze in it. It had water wetter in it. Fun fact, water wetter can freeze. I know. This is hurting me. Just saying it out loud is so, it's like, it's painful. It's pain. Trust me. Just, help me get through this. So, at that point, there's nothing I could do. This was sitting on the ground. There's nothing I can do. Now, the crazy thing is, the car runs and drives fine. It starts fine. You go hit that key, it fires right up. In fact, I nicknamed this car the Toyota Camry because it is so trouble-free. I can take this thing to a racing event and I can race it all weekend and never pop the hood. And it literally, I don't have to touch the car. Turnkey, runs a low 10, right off the trailer. It's always been so reliable and dependable. And the fact that it's possible the engine is possibly destroyed, let's just face it, because of something so dumb. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. So if you're new to the channel, I apologize. I don't want you guys to get the, who is this idiot who blew up his Chevelle and he wasn't even in it. He was sitting in the driveway. What an idiot. That's me. That's what happened. It literally pains me to say it out loud. But yes, I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think about it. The car had water wetter in it for so long. I honestly, it doesn't leak a drop of anything. I don't even check the fluids, honestly, half the time. So I've gotten so spoiled with the car that I didn't even think about it. So all the cars are fine. You know, the cold weather didn't bother them. This one, on the other hand, it's a big problem. So what we need to do is, and of course, I should say this, I haven't jacked it up yet. I haven't even looked under it yet. I haven't jacked it up to even see which one it is. But it was kind of towards the back, so I'm assuming it's probably the one or one of the two in the back of the block between the transmission and I'm sure it's going to be very difficult to get to, because dropping that transmission is a real pain. It's going to be the one in the back. It's going to be a problem. We're going to have to pull the transmission to get to it, which is not easy on this car. The exhaust and headers and the ultra bell housing and all that is really difficult. So that's enough. I'm talking too much now. I guess what we need to do is get it up in the air as high as we can get it, figure out which one this is, and start looking for cracks. If I don't see anything, pull the transmission or whatever, headers, whatever I need to get out of the way, put a new freeze plug in it, check all of the freeze plugs actually, that's a good idea. Maybe we could put coolant back in it and start it up, get it up to temperature, and see if it holds pressure. See if the coolant stays where it's supposed to stay. If we find coolant on the ground or coming out the exhaust or in the oil pan, then the engine is blown and we got big problems. So yeah, let's get started. All right, let's talk about the car for a minute. This car's been in several videos and stuff, and you see it in my, all my videos, but I really haven't showed the car or talked about the car or done any videos on the car because I don't know, I haven't had to work on it. I haven't had to work on this thing like ever. So let's go over it real quick. This is a 1964 Chevelle. It is all original 1964 steel. Even the bumpers, those are re-chromed originals. The hood is a steel hood that we cut, and my buddy Jason welded a cal induction hood on it. So it's an original hood, 1964, bumper to bumper, 1964 steel. Everything you see here. All the glass is 1964 glass. All the windows roll up and down. Front and back windows all still roll up and down. It's all glass. There's no fiberglass. There's no Lexan. There's nothing like that. So I haven't tried to lighten the car at all. It's original as it can be, except the dash. I think the dash is the only thing. The dash was removed not by me, but by the people who stole the car. The car was stolen from me long time ago. When I first bought it, the car got stolen and it was missing for 7 years. And the San Diego Police Department called me one day and said, "We have your car in impound." And I was like, "What? My car's an impound? What?" And they said, "Yeah, you have a 64 Malibu?" And I was like, "What?" So I ran down there, and there it was, sitting in an impound yard, and it was stripped, completely stripped. It was a frame and a body, and that's it. No interior, no engine, no tranny. Most of the suspension was gone. It originally had a 12 bolt, 373 gear 12 bolt in it. It was gone. all the electrical was gone, the dash was gone, the interior was gone, everything was gone. So we put the car back together, me and my best friend Jason, and we were just gonna plan on just having a fun race car. You know, we couldn't send it to the scrap yard. We couldn't crush it. You know, I have like a sentimental attachment to it, you know, so I couldn't do it. So we put the car back together with used parts, eBay parts, you name it, junkyard parts, whatever we could find, and put the car back together. So like I said, it's kind of heavy. It's all steel 64, so it's not a very light car. It is a super dirty car though. My God, I'm embarrassed. It needs to be washed and waxed. Okay, the engine. This is a 406 cubic inch small block Chevy. It is all aftermarket. The only thing that's from Chevrolet is the block. The block is a 2-bolt main, 400, board 30 over. That's it. The rest of it is all aftermarket. It's an Ohio crankshaft, H-beam rods. I believe they're Ross pistons. The heads are RHS, 230 intake runners. They've been gasket, everything's been kind of blended and gasket matched, so it's probably a little bit bigger than 230 cc runners at this point. Solid roller cam. I'll put the cam card in there. Tell Sarah, put the cam card in here. Put it like right here. She can put the cam card in there. Solid roller, yeah. It's on nitrous on a cheater plate, basically to get it off the line. It's a heavy girl, so I like to hit the nitrous right from the line, right off the trans brake. Speaking of tranny, it's a turbo 400 with a 6,000 stall. It probably only flashes though to like 4,800, 4,700 RPM, depending upon how hot it is, but it'll flash off the trans brake around 4,800, 4,700. It is an ultra bell housing, 6,000 stall Hughes converter. It is a trans brake car, so it has a reverse manual valve body, all that kind of funky stuff. The rear end is a Curry 9-inch. It is 3 inches. It was narrowed 3 inches from the original rear end. It's 3 inches shorter than stock, so about 1.5 inches on each side. The frame rails, I cut the frame up here and squeezed it. I cut the outside of the frame, moved it in, and welded it back together. But all the suspension locations, mounting points are original. So it's technically, because I used to race the car in the street car classes and stuff, so people would cry if you had, like, you know, you roll up with a 4-link car, ladder bar car, something like that. That's not a street car, it's not stock. So this has all the suspension points are in the stock locations. The frame was pinched slightly to give me room to clear a 28 10.5 15, which is the biggest small tire, because I would race in the small tire classes. This car, I raced it a lot in Arizona and stuff, and top 10 list races. The highest I got was number 8. I was number 8 on the top 10 list for our area. It was the highest I got. But street car classes, no prep races, top 10 list races. This car was, I used to go to all of them. So anyway, I ran small tire, 28 10.5 small tire, and it's pretty tight. So the frame had to be pinched a little bit to get it to fit, and the trunk had to be cut a little bit to get it to fit. but you can get a 28-10-5 basically in a stock wheel well with a little bit of work. Anyways, so I guess I'm stalling. I'm stalling. I don't want to. I'm so afraid that this engine is going to be cracked. I really hope it's not. I really hope I can get to the freeze plug, check them, make sure they're all in, fill it full of coolant, get it up to operating temperature, and everything's going to be fine. We're all going to have a good laugh. We're all going to go, ha ha ha, oh, that was crazy. I can't believe that happened. Oh man, that's great. So I'm hoping that's what happens, but I don't know. I'm pretty nervous. The car does have a matching doodle bug from like the 1970s that I put a Predator engine on. You know what I mean? That's a pit bike. Anyways, enough stalling. It's time to get to work. Find out what my fate is. So I'll set you up here and start taking this thing apart. Somebody here, somebody, tell me, what's your predictions? Are we just gonna stick a freeze plug in it, put a couple gallons of coolant in it, and that's gonna be it? Or are we gonna be pulling this engine out? What do you think's about to happen? I'd love to hear. So tell me, tell the truth. What is something you've done that's been really boneheaded, like me? Like, help me feel better here. Like, is there anything you've done, maybe not as boneheaded as this? This is pretty boneheaded. But, you know, something boneheaded. Make me feel better. I'm just making some room back there. The bell housing bolts are a lot easier to get to on a Chevelle than a Nova, but this particular bell housing is difficult because it's an ultra bell and the ears are real big and fat and wide, and it's kind of in the way of everything. If I remember correctly, I have to pull the headers, or at least one header, I think. I'm not sure. We'll find out in a minute, but I want to say I wasn't able to pull the transmission out without removing the exhaust and removing one or both headers. So that's going to be difficult. Typically Chevelles have a lot more room, but this one of course doesn't. All right, I can get my hand back here pretty good now. Get these top bell housing bolts out. So yeah, the thing about like an NHRA track is they're strict on the rules. And if you're gonna play and you're gonna go to a lot of those events, you know, you want to follow all the rules. And one of the rules is you can't have coolant. You're not allowed to have antifreeze. And it makes sense, because if you blow your engine half track, coolant is really hard to clean up. Like, and it's really problematic. If you blow the engine, oil's bad enough, but the coolant, you got several gallons of coolant and you just soak it down the track, it's hard to clean up. So that's one of the rules. You can't have, or you're not supposed to have, you know, regular old coolant. They don't want you to have it. So I follow the rules. Not that they ever checked, you know, all the times I've gone through tech, they never pop a radiator cap or anything and check. I think they asked once or twice, and I always, you know, said, no, it's water wetter. So I never had a problem. They never actually popped the cap and check, but you don't want to be the guy. You don't want to be the guy that blows your engine and dumps gallons of coolant down the track, and then the lane is shut down forever while they clean it because you didn't follow the rules. That one was tight. Who put that one in? A little bit more about the car. As you can see, it's a nitrous car. I have a cheater plate on it. It's a 250 shot, and that's, I don't really want to go any more than that. The engine wasn't built for nitrous. Like the cam I chose is not a nitrous cam. So I haven't gone more than a 250 shot cheater plate, and it's really just to help me get off the line, honestly. You'll see that it's on a full throttle switch, and the way I have it set up, so basically the electrical system, the way I have it set up, the key has to be on, and then I have an arming switch. There's an arming switch that has to be armed. That powers up the nitrous system. But the arming switch gets its power from the normally closed side of the contact of the relay for the trans brake. So basically what has to happen is the key has to be on, the arming switch has to be on, and the trans brake has to be off for power to come over to this switch. Then if I'm full throttle, the nitrous will spray. The reason why I do that is because I want to do my burnout. I pull up to the line, I do my burnout box, and then as I'm pulling up to the line, I arm the system and I purge with my purge button. I have a purge that comes out the back of the hood, and I purge the system, and then I pull up to the line and I stage the car. Once the car is staged, both bulbs, I hit the trans brake on the shifter. The shifter trans brake relay changes state. So it sends power on the normally open contact is now closed. When you close the relay, that power now goes out the other side of the relay and it goes to the trans brake. So now I'm sitting on the trans brake and I can go full throttle on the trans brake and the nitrous is not gonna spray. So even if I'm full throttle, nothing's gonna happen until I let go of the trans brake. As soon as I let go of the trans brake, the relay goes back to its normal state. The trans brake turns off, sending power back to the nitrous side. And the nitrous, if I'm on full throttle, it'll go through this switch and then it goes over to the relays for the nitrous, spraying the solenoids. The relays for the nitrous are inside. Those relays will close, the solenoids will spray, and off we go. So that's how it works. So yeah, I do have a full throttle switch, cheater kit on it, and it's, I mean, I'm a nitrous guy. I've always been a nitrous guy, and I love it. It is kind of annoying that I usually find myself running around the day before the race, or sometimes I gotta send Sarah to go get my nitrous bottles filled, and it's, you know, 80 bucks a piece. So at least that's what I was paying, 80 bucks a piece for my nitrous bottles. And so you know, it adds up. Okay, I got the upper bell housing bolts out. I want to jack it up, get underneath this thing for the first time since the incident, we'll call it. We will try and look at all the freeze plugs. I'm gonna get it up as high as I can, and then I guess we'll start pulling the exhaust and transmission from the bottom, drive shaft, all that. So here we go. Couple more things about the car. It's an A1000, -10 lines to the front, -8 line to the return, which is, some people say you shouldn't do, but I've done it for many years and it works fine. You're also supposed to run nitrous on a dedicated fuel system. I don't, because it's such a small shot. What I did was I ran 2 regulators and this is what you're not supposed to do. Nitrous guys are gonna freak out. You're not supposed to do that. But hey, if you take, here's my defense. Here's my defense. The pressure in the return line is on the main, which feeds the carburetor, and it feeds this other secondary regulator that feeds the nitrous. Now, my argument is, as long as I flow the system, the line to the solenoid, as long as I flow it and I get, you know, the bucket with the lines on it, I did the whole flow system with the, I forget which jet you're supposed to use. Anyways, at 3.5 PSI here, you should get a certain amount of volume. As long as I flowed the system and I got the correct amount of volume at 3.5 PSI, who cares? Who cares? The system doesn't know the difference. So I would not do this if you got a big old 2-stage, 3-stage system with fogger kit going on. Okay, you're right, I wouldn't do it. But otherwise, you can do it. Also, one more thing, the signal from the full throttle switch, it goes to the relays to fire the solenoids. Well, also on those relays, I take a signal wire from those over to I have a 7A03 box. My my 7AL30 box. Okay. Now, that has pills in it. So I retard the timing automatically with the little pills, you know what I'm talking about? So when the nitrous sprays, it also retards the timing for me. Okay, so there you go. Now, let me finish jacking this thing up. Well, I should have jacked it up first. I just assumed. Never assume. It's this one. It's the one behind the starter. Right there, you little bastard. Yep. She pushed right out of there. How do you know it's a 400? Because it has 1, 2, 3 freeze plugs on the side. Those look okay. They're all the way flush. Still, okay. Maybe I can get to this one. I might have to pull this header, and I might have to pull the starter, but that's a whole lot better than pulling the transmission. Okay, there it is. With the starter out of the way, it looks like if I took the header off, I could get to this one pretty easy. If the header wasn't in the way, I think we'd be in business. So let me start that process, get this header out of the way, and I think we can get to it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling this exhaust. Hopefully, I think that, oh, that's nice and tight. I'm hoping that, I think this header comes out pretty easy, actually. If I remember correctly, it does. But some history, I know you're not gonna believe this, but this engine in this car right now is about 20, 21, 22 years old. I know that sounds crazy. And people are gonna be like, no, there's no way a nitrous engine in a car this big and heavy, running 10s, is 20 years old. There's no way. But I promise you it is. I built this engine with my buddy Jason when I was still living in San Diego. So that was before I met Sarah, actually. So yeah. I think I've done a couple of cam changes. I've changed the cam. I changed the heads once. But the main bottom half of this engine is over 20 years old. So, I mean, that's pretty, I can't really complain. If the engine is damaged, I mean, I definitely got my money's worth out of it. Okay, I dropped that exhaust pipe. Now I gotta get this side apart. I want to say it's easier if you pull the spark plugs. I think I gotta pull this valve cover too, because I want to say I had to kick it up real at a steep angle. Possibly a valve cover. Let's see. So, get my funky wrenches, header wrenches. Let's see if I can crack this header loose, drop it out of the way, run up to the store, get me some freeze plugs, and And yeah, I hope this engine's okay. I really do. It's got me thinking though, like all week at work and stuff, I was thinking, like, if the engine's not okay, what am I gonna do? Like, what are my options? So here are the options. I've got three 400 blocks over there. They're all standard too. I got 3 standard 400 blocks in the garage. I could take one of them, go get it bored and honed and freeze, cam bearings, get it decked. I don't know how much I would deck. I don't know. This engine was real close. When I switched to these heads, I had a problem with the intake valve. The intake valve was so close. It's the design of the piston. It's an older design piston with a newer combustion chamber head, and it caused an issue. I forget exactly what, but it was too close for comfort. So I ended up changing to a different it's a Cometic head gasket, but I think I had to go to a different thickness to try to get the head away from the piston. So I mean, it's close. When you're getting up in the 13 something to 1 compressions, 14 to 1 compressions, stuff gets real close. Like it gets real close. So I don't know. So I was thinking about that. I have other blocks. I could try to save all the guts out of this one and build another one. So that's one option. The other option is I have an engine. This engine has been in the car for about 20 years. But there was a short amount of time when I pulled this engine out. I took the engine out and I bought a real fancy, real expensive, all aluminum, Motown, 416 cubic inch, all aluminum small block. Jezel shaft mount rockers, all that fancy stuff. It had a Dominator Super Victor manifold with a Dominator with a fogger kit. I had a full fogger kit on it. I bought all this stuff. Normally I build my own engines, but in this case I did not. I bought a real fancy engine and I put it in the car and I started getting, it was fast. It was way more power. Way more power than this one. In fact, it was so much power, we had the dyno sheets on it. It was like 780 horsepower on the motor, not counting the fogger setup. So it was basically making the same power as this on the nitrous as that was making off the nitrous. So it was pretty fast, and it was all aluminum. So it took about 150 or so pounds off the front of the car, and it was crazy. It was crazy fast. Like, I was just starting to get used to it, and I went to Wild Horse Pass one night on a test and tune night, and the car usually hooks pretty good off the line. And in this case, it was a cold night, the track was cold, and I left and I had the nitrous on, and I was trying to tune it in with the nitrous. And I mean, I didn't have I wasn't swinging for the fences. I had the timing down quite a bit. I thought it was safe. I thought I was safe. Well, it didn't hook. It spun tire bad off the line, which right off the trans brake is not normal for this car. But it did not hook. It blew the tires away. And I pedaled it like 3 times on the nitrous with a full throttle switch. So it was like back, 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 like on and off the nitrous, which is not a good idea. And I finally got it to hook, and I wanted to make a full pass, so I stayed in it. First gear, second gear, shifted into third gear, and right at the finish line, like maybe a few feet in front of the finish line, it scattered like I mean, it was massive explosion. Like 3 giant fireballs came out underneath the car. Oil went up the window. I couldn't see anything out the front window. The window went completely black. The engine locked up, completely locked up. Oil underneath the car, big fireballs. The engine locked up, so the car started violently shaking because the rear tires were just, and the transmission made a howl like you would not believe. Yeah, I was doing about 130 miles an hour, and it let go and locked up. And I was terrified because I was in the left lane, so I had the K-rail on the left side. I'm in the left lane, so I have K-rail on this side, and I've got a car. I'm racing a car, and I'm out in front of him. I was way out in front of him, but I couldn't see him. So I'm terrified. I don't want to drift into his lane because then he might, bam, rear end me. So I was terrified. It was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me in this car. And yeah. So I have the engine. Long story short, the block, it's all aluminum, so it can be repaired. I have the heads. I have all the valve train was fine, all the heads were fine. I think I bent a couple valves. 2 pistons broke. Maybe we'll put some pictures in right here. Tell Sarah to put pictures in. 2 pistons broke. It was catastrophic failure out the bottom end, but the top end was okay. So maybe it's time to try and rebuild it. Maybe we rebuild it. It's gonna be expensive, I know, but maybe we go that route. So that's another option. There's another option. A coworker of mine, a buddy of mine at work, he sold me an LS 5.3, an aluminum. I got an aluminum 5.3 over there. So maybe it's time to let go of the Nitrous small block and do like a turbo LS. I know. I'm gonna go wash my mouth out with soap for even saying it, but we could go like a turbo LS with like a nasty 4L80 tranny, overdrive tranny, so I could do some drifting, or not drifting, some drag and drive events. I don't know. That's a possibility. The other possibility is I got a big block over there. I got a big block. We could do that. I don't know. My gut is telling me to go with that Motown engine. Rebuild that Motown engine. I had to buy real fancy headers for it. The headers alone they were like $3,000 headers, $2,000 headers, because they were stall flange, 1 7/8 step headers. They're crazy. They're crazy headers, and they were super expensive. I bought them to put the engine in the car. I bought those headers to fit this car, and really expensive headers, really expensive top end. The heads and the valve train alone in those headers was super expensive. So maybe I rebuild that engine. That thing was nasty though. Like, that thing, it was, I mean, 700. I have the dyno sheets. The guy gave me the dyno sheets with it from some machine shop out in California. Built it, and it was like 780 horsepower on the motor. So that's pretty good. So maybe we do that. I'm gonna have to mortgage my soul to pay for it though. Or you know what? I'm just gonna have to have a talk with Sarah. You know, Sarah's gonna have to step it up, okay? She's gonna have to get a second job, all right? I know, she needs to pick it up, okay? I need her to get a second job. I'm just kidding. I don't know. We'll add some pictures though. There's a lot of stuff on this car. Like, I've had this YouTube channel for almost 2 years now, or just over two years now, I think. And I really haven't done much on this car. So, what would you guys like to see? If there's a problem with this engine, if there's a problem. Okay, what do you think? Headers out of the way, took the valve cover off. Couple things. If you get tired of your breathers spitting oil everywhere, get you some cheap valve covers. Get a -10 bung welded in there. Run -10 fittings up to a catch can. Trust me, you'll thank me for it. Get tired of spitting oil everywhere. Oh, also, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, I run staggered rockers, 1.6, 1.5. What else? Yeah, I think we'll go underneath here, and if I can get to that freeze plug, we're gonna pop in the freeze plug. We could fill it up with some, maybe I'll just put water in it. I don't want to put coolant in it yet. We'll fill it up with water, start the engine, see what it does, and then if it's all good, we'll drain the water and put coolant in it then. I don't want to fill it with coolant and then find out it's cracked. So, all right, let's get underneath here and see if we got a straight shot to that freeze plug. All right, that's better. I got a pretty straight shot at it. I think we can get it. Let me run to the store and get some stuff, and I'll be right back. Well, I just got back from the store, and I can't even believe it. They don't have a set of freeze plugs in stock. So now I'm at a standstill. I should have went down there this morning and got those ordered up, but here we are, car in the air, everything on hold, waiting on some freeze plugs. So I guess I'll eat lunch and put those top Bellheisen bolts back in and stuff. Not much I can do, so I'm just gonna have to wait. Okay, new freeze plug, big hammer. Time to take out some aggression, get this guy in there, and then we can put it back together and pray. Just pray, all right? Right now, I need you all to say a little prayer, because if this doesn't work, let's just not even talk about it. Well, look at that. We got a freeze plug in there. It says China right on it, so you know it's good. All right, now let's put it all back together. Okay, let's get it done. Exhaust is back in. Header's in. Starter is in. You can barely see it. So everything under here is done. I just got to go back up top, put it back together, and then we'll see how it does. Okay, I think I got it all back together. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to put regular water in it, fill it up, make sure the electric water pump is pumping, it didn't get damaged at all, make sure it's circulating water, make sure there's no leaks. I'm going to fire it up, I'm going to let it run, get it up to temperature, get it under pressure, and hopefully we don't have milkshake or anything bad like that. Well, we're off to a really bad start because I'll just show you. The electric water pump, look at the back of the electric water pump. Oh my God. Oh my. Oh. Well, it's also leaking out of the water pump, but that's coming out of the back of the engine. That's coming out of literally the back of the engine. So I thought I was gonna not have to pull the transmission, but guess what? I gotta pull the transmission. I'm gonna go say some bad words I can't say on camera now. Well, it's coming out of the back of the engine as fast as I'm putting it in. I can't see where, but it's coming from up there somewhere. Oh my. Well, it looks like I'm pulling the transmission, but I'm pretty nervous because there was only one freeze plug on the ground. So where's all that water coming from? Oh no. Oh man. Maybe there's a crack back there somewhere. I don't know. Water pump's bad too. It's definitely coming out of the back of the water pump. I mean, I hope there's another freeze plug sticking out, but it didn't hit the ground. So if there's another freeze plug, it's maybe just pushed out and it's pouring out of that, or there's a giant crack across the back of the block. I don't know. So I guess I'm going to start pulling the transmission. Ugh. I just wanted to try an experiment, and I started running the hose to fill it up with water, and I wanted to see if we make any milkshake, and that's looking like milkshake to me. That's looking like milkshake. Oh, we got a bad problem. I think the engine's done. That's terrible. But there's water in the oil. I'm gonna say that's milkshake. Well, ladies and gentlemen, looks like we have ruined a small block 406. Man, I was feeling pretty good there for a minute, like, all right, I'm gonna put this freeze plug in and go ahead and fire it up, and it's gonna be all good, and we're all gonna have a good laugh about it. And oh, that's milkshake for sure. Oh no, water's getting in the oil. That is definitely milkshake. And it wasn't even under pressure, obviously, because it's leaking so much water out of the back. It never got up to temperature, and it was never up to temperature, and it was never sealed, so it never got up to pressure either. So water is just getting into the engine right now freely. So that means this block has got to be cracked. I mean, you always hear the stories. 400s are thin and 400s are crack prone, and wow, here we are. We're proving it, and we're proving it now. Anyway, sorry guys. Oh man, looks like the Chevelle is down hard. Okay, so let's go over the options. We have an aluminum standard 5.3. I have just the block, so it needs everything. That would probably be the most expensive option. I'd have to change everything. Electronics, fuel system, all kinds of stuff would have to change. I have this option. It was an all aluminum Motown 416 cubic inch. The top end is okay. The bottom end is complete trash. I mean, I shouldn't say that. The block might be able to be welded up in 2 sleeves and, you know, yada, yada, yada. So is it worth trying to fix it? Do I just build a different bottom end altogether? This would be probably the second most expensive option, but I do have headers and everything that would drop in to put this engine back in the car. So that's the other option. Option number 3 is I have 3 400 small blocks, 1 there and 2 back there. They're all standard bore 400s. I could machine this up. Hopefully nothing is damaged. Well, hopefully nothing's damaged. And we can put the guts and the top end and put it in another 400 block. That would probably be the least expensive option. Probably machine work, bearings, rings, gaskets, you know, pretty simple maybe, hopefully. You guys need some hay? Anybody? So, I also have a big block over there. There's a 454 back there, standard 4-bolt main block. I don't know what to do with that. But anyways, I'm sort of kind of leaning towards another 400 only because of money, because I'm broke right now. Yeah, I was gonna, you know, I need to build a shop right now. I don't really need to build a very expensive engine, but I mean, there's no cheap way around it. It's going to be expensive. And what sucks is this garage is a disaster. It's literally packed. Most of my tools and a lot of my stuff is in those totes. I mean, it's such a pain. I'm not really set up for building engines right now. So that's another thing. I'm also in Tennessee, and I don't know any machine shops or anything. I've asked around. I know some people who recommended some places, but I don't know any machine shops out here. So I'd have to kind of go off somebody else's recommendations and hopefully it works out, type of thing. So I don't know. What do you guys think? What is your opinion of my options? Well, there it is. My nightmare has come true. I've been putting this off since January when I first found that freeze plug on the ground. I knew there was something wrong. I didn't know how bad. I got really excited when I thought it was just the one freeze plug, and I thought I was just gonna pop that freeze plug in, put it back together, and off I would be, you know, off into the sunset. But turns out I'm not that lucky. So obviously we got big issues here. We could probably pull this out, inspect it, take it apart, see what exactly happened. Hopefully it's just the block. Hopefully nothing else got damaged. I don't know. I'm really sorry. I feel like I lost my best friend. I feel like I just lost my dog or something. Like, this is terrible. This is not the way I wanted to end this video. I'm sorry. But anyways, please hit like, comment, subscribe. Send me some good comments. What is your biggest bonehead move? This one's got to be up there for me. Basically, yeah. This is a pretty big bonehead move. What a stupid way to lose an engine. What a stupid way to lose an engine. So yeah, share this video with your friends. Tell them, hey, check out this idiot. He blew up his 10-second Chevelle and he wasn't even driving it. Because that would be me. So anyway, sorry. This was a painful video. Painful video. So where do we go from here? Give me your opinions. Tell me what's up. Maybe I should just go stick to baseball cards or something. I don't know. Is the cartels hiring? I could maybe do some side work. I don't know. Man, it sucks. Anyways, thank you for watching. Again, sorry. Sad video. Sad day at Tackett's House of Horsepower. The Toyota Camry is no more.